It's exciting when you're starting out a new company. Either you've got a new product, a new service, or something that's transitioning from another existing company, or you're just starting out for the first time. It's really exciting, but there are a lot of different things that really go into it that you might not think about at first, and some of them are going to take a lot longer than you might realize, or at least maybe did for me. And I'm talking about here about naming the company. You want to keep in mind who is doing it, what you're doing, is it a product or a service, who are the customers, is this going to be a one and done type of a situation? For example, if you're going in with someone else and you're going to purchase investment property or a particular one building or one development, that is what the limited liability company is going to own. It's going to hold it, it's going to manage it. Then you might come up with, people use initials of the partners, initials of family. Some people name companies after their children. You might name it after the location or the building. If this is sequential ownership, you're going to have different kinds of companies and different kinds of properties. That way you might pick a name and then differentiate them by Roman numeral 1, 2, or 3, something like that. Other times you want it to reflect the product or the service that's being presented. I've had the opportunity to name several companies. I've helped with some people naming their companies, and then I've named them obviously of my own. The hardest one by far was this one, FinelyRevealed. It was very difficult. Part of the difficulty was that you want something that is going to last. You want something that can be identifiable, something that you can grow with, and something that you like, that you're going to like hearing, that you're going to like hearing about, something that you're going to be able to work with in different fashions. But this one took forever. It took several months. I had notes all over the place, notes on my phone, notes on my computer, notes here, notes there. What about this? What about this? And in creating the channel and creating the material, we knew what the core was, but in order to communicate that is what we wanted it not just a label, but also a means to identify with what we're trying to do here. Well, then there's a whole other layer that might not be obvious on first blush, which is companies need to be registered. They need to be officially formed. Those are formed through the local government of the state in which you're living in. It should be where the business is located. Sometimes then you have to register it in other locations, and I will cover what those rules are either on the website, which is www.finelyrevealed.com, or I'll do another video. But some things I would rather just list out on the website than make you watch through and listen to 50, all the different states, what their rules are, because it might not pertain to you. But this is where people get hung up, and some clients of mine recently had a mess, because as we saw from the business video of Don Ernst, if you haven't watched that one, you should watch that if you're thinking about having a business. There are things that are not obvious to you that you need to check out before you start into business, or in the whole part of gathering your information together. And so the name is critical to a lot of those functions. You may be signing contracts early on, you may be hiring people, you may be acquiring things, and you don't want to have to then change the name on everything right away. These clients that I was referring to, they invested in a company that someone else was forming. They were doing it as a group, and they were coming from a different state. They actually incorporated, set up a company, picked the name and everything. Well, then they move here, they can't register it because the name's already taken. Names can be reserved in some locations, and but anyway, once you file it, you own that name, and sometimes they're too close, and the local authorities won't let you pick something that's too close to someone who's already there. Tricky, not tricky, but obvious things to check for. If you're going to try to name it after a geographic part, for example, if you're starting something in Seattle or Oregon and you want to say Northwest, well, better check that out, because everybody and their brother has a company named something with Northwest in it. Chances are high that you're going to be opted out and you're not going to be able to use it. So in particular when it's a geographic area, and then you want to stay away from other similar names of companies that are already in existence, because you don't want to bring on lawsuits to yourself. So you need to check that out. Then the other layer that you have to go through these days is domain names. Not only do you want the name to be able to be used for original registration formation purposes, but also online if you're going to have a website or other online presence, which everyone does. So that will add a little bit to the process. And then you want to also think about this. A former assistant of mine who was great, and we had a great time working together, but we were forming a company to provide services for some of our corporate clients and some of our banking clients in another state. And it was very simple what it was going to be. We're going to only use it for agent and trustee services. So I said, well, let's just set it up like that, agent and trustee, make some combination of the name or the letters, A and T, something like that. And so I set her about to go and check for the availability, and she came back and she said, oh darn, she said A and T's taken already, but T&A is available. No, I don't think we're going to go there. So we chose another name, and it was just fine. But as my sister says, when you're naming a baby, you're not naming a little infant, you're naming a 30-year-old. And same thing with your business. Think about it, not just today, but tomorrow and on into the future, and check all the sources where you want to have a presence. And if there are any type of registration or other names, name assignment, things like that, do that first. And before you start signing contracts and doing even formation, you're going to have to start all over again. And there's no reason to waste the time and resources when you're really ready to get going.